You know when you're reading an ancient text and you hit this long, kind of dry list of names and numbers? Well, today we're going to crack one of those open and you're going to see it's not just some old document. It's actually the blueprint for building an entire nation from scratch.
Okay, so just try to picture this for a second. You've just led a huge population of people out of slavery. Now you're all just wandering in the middle of a desert. You've got no government, no real structure, and definitely no army. So what do you do? How on earth do you turn this massive, disorganized crowd into a real nation?
Well, the solution, like it so often does in these stories, starts with a command from on high. And this wasn't just a casual suggestion. This was about creating order out of chaos. It was the first, crucial step in giving this new people a purpose.
And here it is, the core instruction. But notice how incredibly specific this is. This isn't just about counting every man, woman, and child. The rules are super clear. They have to be men, they have to be 20 years or older, and, this is the most important part, they have to be able to serve in the army.
So let's be really clear about this. This census wasn't for collecting taxes or figuring out social programs. Nope. This was, for all intents and purposes, a military draft. It was a national mobilization. The whole point was to turn a crowd of refugees into an organized army, ready for whatever was coming next. But look, a job this huge is not a two-man operation, so the command itself actually laid out a plan for how to get it done, creating the leadership structure they'd need for this massive project.
To make it all work, one respected leader from each of the 12 tribes was chosen to help out. These guys were already the heads of their families, their clans, so right away you have a clear chain of command, making sure the count is done with order and, some real authority.
So with the leadership team all set, the census kicks off. This was a really meticulous process. They registered people by their clans and their families, listing every single eligible man by name, one by one.
And where do they start? Well, it makes sense, right? They begin with the tribe of Reuben, who is Israel's firstborn son. This sort of sets the pattern for how the whole count is going to go, tribe by tribe.
And boom, the number they come back with is just staggering. 46,500 fighting men from just this one tribe. All of a sudden, this wandering nation is starting to look like a pretty serious force.
All right, the process just keeps on rolling. Next up is the tribe of Simeon, following the exact same rules.
And again, another huge number, 59,300. You can really start to feel the scale of this army building one tribe at a time.
Now, when you actually lay these numbers out, you start to see who the real heavy hitters are. Judah comes out on top, and it's not even close. Over 74,000 men. Then you got Dan and Simeon. This early strength from Judah really gives you a hint about the huge role that tribe is going to play later on in Israel's history.
Okay, so after all that painstaking work, going through every family and every clan, across all 12 tribes, it's finally time to add it all up. This is the big moment, where the full strength of this new nation is about to be revealed.
So, what do you think? After counting hundreds of thousands of men across a dozen different tribes, what's the final number? Any guesses?
603,550. Just let that sink in. That is an enormous army. In one single, highly organized effort, these wandering people found out their exact military strength. They weren't just a crowd anymore. They were an army.
But hold on, the story's not over. Just when you think you have the full picture, the text throws in this really fascinating twist, a huge exception to this military roll call.
And there it is, spelled out plain as day. The tribe of Levi was left out of the military census on purpose. They were not to be numbered among the soldiers. So, if they weren't fighters, what was their job?
Well, the reason they were excluded reveals this really fundamental division of labor at the very heart of the nation. While the other 12 tribes were building an army, the Levites were given a totally different, sacred responsibility. They were to take care of the tabernacle.
Their role was both spiritual and, honestly, pretty logistical. They were in charge of everything to do with the tabernacle. They had to carry it, set it up, take care of it, and crucially, they had to camp right around it, acting as a kind of protective barrier between the holy space and everybody else.
And that is the ultimate takeaway here. That very first census did way more than just count soldiers. It basically defined the two pillars of this new nation. You have a military body to protect the people from physical threats, and you have a priestly tribe to guard its spiritual heart.
Which kind of leaves us with a pretty interesting question, doesn't it? This ancient census was all about creating an army and establishing sacred order. It tells you exactly what that society valued most when it was just starting out: strength and faith. So it makes you wonder, what does any society's first big organizational act really reveal about its deepest priorities?